Alright, we're going to try and finish things off here. Alright, so this series will be only like 3 videos long. Eventually I'll probably compress all this stuff. So, as I said at the end of the last video, Lita is now the women's champion. We're going from Unforgiven, we're going to go right to the end of the year. And we're going to have to start thinking about WrestleMania in the future. So we're going to start laying a little bit of groundwork. So we're not running things like right into the ground. A lot of this stuff we can probably, like, there's going to be a little development at Armageddon. I'm not going to finish that. I'm not going to clear that up for you. I'm just going to say I'm laying some groundwork for some stuff that I probably would have done in 2001, but wouldn't have been able to. Alright, so by this point too, Val has become part of the right to censor. Thus, we have our 8-man tag team match. So, who was in this 8-man tag team match? Well, we got Too Cool, but no Rikishi. Alright. And we got the Dudley Boyz. So they're going to be taking on... This will set up some stuff later on as well. Too Cool. They seem to be my tackling dummies. But I like Too Cool, and they do jobs really well. So let's not do that thing. Alright, I probably have the RTC win this. Probably have, let's say, Val, Venis, pin Devon. Because I'm not a big Devon fan, so let's just have Devon eat the pin there. Alright, Perry Saturn versus Al Snow. Alright, so we're going to do things a little bit differently here, because remember, this is also the show where someone made their return, even though they were a different character. They were, what, Johnny Polo before? And then they came back, and they were reborn, and they had been doing this character for a while in ECW, and a while in WCW. I'm of course talking about Raven. So Raven, so it's Perry Saturn versus Al Snow. And wait a minute. European champion in the form of Perry Saturn. Perry Saturn's kicking ass. But then he looks like he's going to lose. And out from the crowd jumps Raven. He debuts. It's the Raven effect on Al Snow. And we have a knockdown referee, or the referee is distracted by Terri, one of those two things, and that's when he hits the Raven effect, and Perry Saturn makes a pin. 1, 2, 3. We got our the winner of the match and still European champion, Perry Saturn. And they exchange looks. They shake hands in the middle of the ring, and they go off together. So we got the beginnings of a new thing going on here. Hardcore title. Tazz versus Steve Blackman. And Blackman, he taps out to that Tazz mission, and we got a new hardcore champion. Tag team champions. The dominating force that has been Edge and Christian, who have held the belts for quite a long time now, taking on the Hotty Boyz in a steel cage match. Matt escapes, thus winning the match, and this also spells the end of Edge and Christian's thing. Because right after this, they did a ladder match the following night, which was friggin' ridiculous. Like, cage match, then ladder match. It's stupid. Well, not entirely, because it was their debut on Spike and they wanted a big match for it. So, and they were coming right off Unforgiven. It was really weird timing. But I wouldn't have done that. I would have done just a straight up match between these two, thus, and had that stip put in there. Because, as everyone knows, I usually put that in every time. It's a way of, like, saying I want to do other stuff with this character or this wrestler, and I don't want to have, like, it's also a way of putting emphasis on belts, saying how important they are and things, and we got to do new things. It's an excuse to do that. And around about this time, we're going to do the whole... We're going to kind of bring in a bit beforehand the whole Chyna getting cheated on thing. We do the GTV thing right after Eddie Guerrero proposes. He's looking nervous throughout the day. We do that thing, and he was kind of late for a match or something. He proposes right before she's about to give her answer. We do the GTV thing, and he's caught. The hoes are there, and Chyna beats them up the following week on SmackDown, and they're laid out. Same thing, same deal. Except and Chyna says she wants a match. She wants it with Eddie Guerrero, and Mick goes, "You got it, girl. You go get him." But Eddie kicks her ass. Not completely. Like, she managed to get a couple of good shots in, and she wins. He wins though, but he's like battered, bruised, and all that. All right, so then we move on. Instead of doing the special guest referee thing with Mick Foley, kind of redundant. It's a number one contender match for No Mercy. It's Triple H versus Kurt. This is a little bit of payback for what happened the previous month. Kurt wants to be friends with Stephanie still, and they're still pretty affectionate with one another, and Triple H doesn't like that. He doesn't like that one bit, and this is sort of like his way of getting a match with him without pissing off the missus. And actually, instead of making the special gift for the referee Foley, the special referee is Stephanie Yeah. Stephanie McMahon, haha. So that's a little bit more interesting than you think. Alright, battery's running low, so I've got to wrap this up pretty quick. It's not terribly low, but it's starting to get that way. So, yeah, we have that, and Kurt wins. Stephanie gets knocked out. Another referee comes in. 1, 2, 3. After Kurt cheats to win, and yeah. Actually, yeah, well, let's make Stephanie the referee, but, yeah, that's kind of weird. WWF title match, same thing. Chris Benoit versus Kane versus Undertaker versus The Rock, same sort of build-up. Instead, Kane is the pin here. Because I want to do some stuff with Chris Benoit, and I don't like getting him hurt in between time. Alright, kind of left out here. No Mercy's rolling around. So I guess I should mention Stone Cold made his return there at Unforgiven. Same thing happened with Shane McMahon and his theory with Steve Blackman. Thus, that's also why Steve Blackman is kind of beat up. He's eaten a stunner that night, and that's why another reason we can say he lost his thing. Yeah. So, sorry. When I get to the match, I guess we'll talk about it. Perry Saturn and Terri take on Al Snow and William Regal. William Regal makes Al Snow tap. So that happens. Hardcore title, Tazz versus Road Dogg. And there's none of this spotting X-Pac and Road Dogg back together backstage. None of that shit. Women's title, Lita versus Ivory. Ivory wins, and the Rights to Censor then comes out and celebrates with her. They're going crazy. They've won a belt. Eddie Guerrero versus Rikishi versus Venis versus Chyna. This also triggers a rivalry between Chyna and the RTC for the fact that Chyna has appeared in Playboy. And Eddie's pissed about that too. He's pissed. He's like, I could have been dating a playmate. And Eddie pins Rikishi. Matt and Jeff with Lita take on the RTC with Steven Richards. Matt wins despite interference by Edge and Christian, who were trying to get back their belts. They want another opportunity. Triple H versus Chris Benoit. There has been problems in the McMahon family thing. Same sort of deal. Triple H doesn't want Stephanie getting hurt. He's sick and tired of seeing her get hurt. That was the last straw with her being the special guest referee in the match. And yeah, so that happened. Alright. I guess now it's time to talk about the whole who actually did run down Stone Cold thing in my world. Because, well, it couldn't have been Rikishi because he was part of this four-way. I'm not doing that thing. I saw what happened. I understand why they wanted to do it. Rikishi was getting over. They wanted to separate him from Too Cool. So, yeah. And they figured this was a way of doing it. Problem is, Rikishi wasn't there, and they're imposing a relationship between Rikishi and The Rock, and they have to sort of backtrack their story. Let's look at the evidence that was there to begin with, shall we? Now, we're gonna end up sticking the ultimate thing at the ultimate. Ultimately, the finger's gonna end up pointing at Triple H. Overall, he's going to still be the mastermind, but who's there beforehand? Well, Foley ends up bringing out that suspect that the suspect that was there the whole time. And he comes out and he says, "So, well, Austin, I guess you really want to know why it was me." And it turns out it was actually Billy Gunn that run him down. He says this was a whole planned weeks in advance. This was planned ages ago. This was planned long before Survivor Series 99. This was planned when you were running around and you hurt my best friend Brian. And he even uses his real name. You hurt my best friend Brian. You could have ended his career. His foot was caught in a bear trap, Austin. You went too far that time. You could have ended his career. You might not have liked Brian, but you could have ended his livelihood. He has a family at home to support. His father was a great wrestler, and this is the speech he gives. His father was a great family. He just comes from a big family of wrestlers, the Armstrongs. And he is probably one of the most successful Armstrongs that there ever was. He might not wear that name as a badge of honor anymore. He might be running around calling himself Road Dogg, but I know his father is proud of him. I'm kind of going off track here. But you, Austin, you tried to end his career. You tried to not just end a career, but end a legacy. And I am not going to stand for that. That's why when I was snuck into the Rock's locker room and I grabbed the keys for his car, I wanted to get him out of that Survivor Series match as well, because I know for a fact that I didn't like kissing his ass at SummerSlam. So I still held a grudge for that. But not only that, he made me kiss some fat broad. So kiss the ass of some fat broad. Well, who I wanted his ass, his lips on her ass. Blah 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 blah. Yeah. So you pull from actual shit that happened. You see. The reason he wanted to frame The Rock for it was because of SummerSlam that previous year. So you see, you hold all this stuff together. You keep it all in. See, I just came up with that off the top of my head too. I originally was going to have, I had it in my mind that Billy wanted to take him out because of the whole bear trap thing. I know they just did that for figure out, well, how he's going to do this to X-Pac. He's going to string up Billy Gunn or whatever. But yeah, he could have ended his career. Well, let's see. That was all there. But yeah, I just thought, well, he took on The Rock at SummerSlam and she kissed her ass. But hey, yeah, that's the reason he did it. And we just pulled from there. So we just moved things back. Like we set things in motion, and we set up the fact that there was an accomplice as well. But yeah, fingers on the accomplice are pointed at Road Dogg, and he's like, Road Dogg says, "I'm not the accomplice," and that. And plus, we make it a real mystery. We don't just reveal who it is, as well. But yeah, we do that sort of stuff because ultimately the finger's going to end up pointed at Triple H anyway. So Stone Cold ends up kicking his ass. He does the same thing that was going to happen to Rikishi, but instead we do it with Billy Gunn. Because that actually makes more sense. He's blonde hair, or evidence that was like just thrown out there. We do that. Kurt Angle versus The Rock. Kurt Angle wins. Yeah. Yeah. So. So we go into Survivor Series now. This episode's going to be probably the longest because we had to set up that whole Austin thing. The RTC, Bull Buchanan, Goodfather, Val Venis, and Steven Richards, they got another match. They're taking on Road Dogg, K-Quick, Crash, and Steve Blackman. So K-Quick is it comes down to K-Quick and Steven Richards, both who aren't really tagged in throughout the match. The reason for this match too, instead of having TNA take over the APA's lair, it's actually the RTC that do it. They throw out their beer because they say drinking is beer leads to blah blah blah. So that's sort of like the pre-straight edge society sort of thing, like that. So that happens, and it comes down to K-Quick. K-Quick gets the victory over Steven Richards. Hardcore title, Tazz versus El Snow. Tazz, of course, wins because I want to keep the belt on him. Tazz wins the belt. Tazz wins. Another 4-on-4 elimination match. Billy Gunn, Chris Benoit, Dean Malenko, and Eddie Guerrero take on Too Cool, Too Cool, Rikishi, and Chyna. Chyna's got that history with Eddie. Same with Rikishi. Too Cool's got that history with the Radicals as well. And Billy Gunn, because, Perry Saturn's not part of the Radicals this time around. Billy Gunn ends up pinning Rikishi. Tag titles. Matt and Jeff versus D'Lo and Chaz. Lowdown. Lowdown is a tag team I actually liked. I just don't think they ever got the opportunity really to shine. I think they got one opportunity and then they got sort of dumped. I don't know why. They were a cool tag team. Nothing was ever done with them. No real merchandising or anything. And they had a good match with the Hardy Boys in one match. They actually came close to beating them. So I wouldn't have that match here. they come really close to beating them, and they do they did some really cool double team moves. They were a really cool team, like fairly basic stuff, but really cool. Yeah. European title, Hardcore Holly versus William Regal. The tag title match, Matt ended up pinning Chaz. Hardcore Regal wins because I want to keep the belt on him. I like to. Kane versus Chris Jericho. Same story, believe it or not. I actually kind of like that. It's just like got coffee spilled on him, and this led to like Kane like coming. One of the best times for Kane, actually, because he doesn't like the fact that everyone was cheering for him, and there was this cool thing. Like, he ends up turning babyface again anyway, so, yeah. Stone Cold versus Triple H ends in a no contest. They're brawling throughout the arena, and they, like, it's another sort of, like, no-holds-barred sort of situation. And we don't do that big thing with the car because it's like fucking stupid. Sorry, if Austin did that to the car, he'd be charged with manslaughter. Or whatever, but because, yeah, Triple H would be dead. So, what we do instead, they brawl into the back, and then the Radicals and the three those three plus Billy Gunn, and up triple teaming, quadruple teaming Triple H, and yeah, it just ends there, and then the referee just rules it a no contest because like, fuck it, because then the other thing too is like then we could have like Too Cool Rikishi and all that just jump in as well. His big smoz, and then it's like ruled a no contest. That too. Kurt Angle versus Undertaker. Yeah, because after that we just need a pretty cool match, and yeah, Kurt wins and he just runs over. Okay, let's just run this last one because it's going to be really quick. Dean Malenko versus Crash with Molly Holly. I like Molly. She was really cute then and still is. Hardcore Holly, the Hardcore title, Tazz versus Raven. Steven Richards ends up interfering in this match. Super kicks Tazz, and he's like, whoa, then falls right into the Raven effect DDT. Bang. 1, 2, 3. On a chair too. 1, 2, 3. We got this. They exchange a strange look. And they exchange a strange look at one another. Like, he's holding the belt, he's looking at him, he's like, what the heck? What's going on here? And by the way, I'm not going to explain that too, because I don't have to, because I'm setting something up for next year and I don't need to. William Regal versus Val Venis versus Hardcore Holly. Another cool match, triple threat just thrown together as well. Ivory versus Lita in a street fight. Another match that we're going to have. Ivory wins after a distraction from Steven Richards. During the thing, she gets hit with something or sprayed in the eye or something. There we go. Matt, the Hardy Boys versus the Dudleys versus the RTC Buchanan. And they've also taking on Lowdown. D-Low ends up pinning Matt Hardy, and thus the new tag team champions are Lowdown. Take that, Vinnie Mac. Here we go. Eddie Guerrero versus Perry Saturn with Terri to take on Rikishi. Rikishi wins the title by pinning Eddie Guerrero. Winner gets the coveted number 30 spot in the Rumble. The Rock versus Chris Benoit. Chris Benoit wins, because neither The Rock nor Benoit won that Rumble. So I don't even think Chris Benoit was in the Rumble, so maybe he ends up losing his spot because he was not in it. Whatever. Fuck it. Hell in a Cell. Kurt Angle versus Undertaker versus Chris Jericho versus Kane versus Triple H versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. And Kurt Angle ends up pinning Kane. And we are done, people. Alright, so we've got some pretty cool stuff heading into 2001. We've got brand new tag team champions. We've got a brand new hardcore champion. We got a European champion who's actually European, who's tearing up the place. We've had what, 2 sets of tag team champions instead of like 8 title changes in that year. We've got a dominant light heavyweight champion who's held the belt since WrestleMania. Doesn't look like he's going to drop it. We've got this intriguing storyline of Steven Richards having to choose between leading his own group and joining up against joining once again with his best friend, Raven. That's the thing we're going to talk about, but we'll be talking about throughout the next month or so. So we've got some pretty cool stuff. The RTC are not friggin' glorified jobbers at this point. That would actually probably happen later. They're doing pretty well. We've got some cool stuff. We got an intriguing storyline. We talked about that. We managed to set up that pass off the thing to Triple H pretty well. Billy Gunn is not doing it. Is not sort of come back and has nothing to do. The way I do the one thing now is, instead of having it being rock and roll, is like, I'm the one that ran down Stone Cold Steve Austin, sort of thing. Instead of that, he's not come back as Mr. Ass or anything. So, and we got a brand new guy that's going to be entering the Royal Rumble. Number 30 is going to be the first time he's entered the first guy in a long time that's in the number 30 spot, and he's a brand new piece of talent. This will be his first year entering the Rumble. So we've got some cool stuff there. And we only ran up to 26 minutes. So yeah, we got some cool stuff. I have no idea what's going to be the next Booker Who, but this will crop up whenever I finish the next. I think